Welcome to SVG TV News for Thursday, March 16, 2023. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Days after the High Court ruled in their favor in a case in which they were challenging the government's COVID-19 vaccine mandate, the unions and organizations represented affected public sector workers today advised the claimants and other members affected by the mandate to peacefully return to their various workplaces to recommence their duties. In the ruling handed down on Monday, March 13, 2023, High Court Judge Justice Esco Henry found that the decision by the government to deem the public servants to have resigned without giving them an opportunity to be heard was ultra-virus procedural improper and contrary to the rules of natural justice, and said the decision of the Minister, Commissioner of Police, Public Service Commission, and Police Service Commission should be made void as the public servants never left their jobs. The government has since indicated its intention to appeal the ruling, which lead counsel Anthony Astafan said will be done by Friday, March 17, 2023. Speaking to SVG TV News on the advice given to the workers who have been off the job for over a year now to return to their duties, President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said they consulted with their legal team and the instruction given was for them to advise members to obey the order by the court.
Remember, the court ordered that these workers never abandon the job and they are still entitled to all their benefits, their payments, and also that they have never ceased or given up their job. So based on that, if you have not abandoned your job, then you have to report for duty. So we advise them to report for duty peacefully. We told them if they go to the schools and they are told to report to the Ministry of Education, then they should report to the Ministry of Education. And we expect that the Ministry of Education would act in a professional manner to put in writing the instruction for the teachers. And this also applied to all other workers because this was a joint meeting with the other organizations.
So since you sent out that, has anybody, any one of the members adhered to your the request?
Yes. Persons are doing so. Those who couldn't make it today will go tomorrow, and some may go the other days because, you know, this was a quick decision made last night. And we consulted with our membership last night. We had a joint meeting with Public Service Union and members of the Teachers Union. And we explained to them the procedure in going forward and some of the other things in the making that we are planning also. So we told them to report for duty, obey the court order, because that is the law unless and until that is overturned, you know, and we know for sure that will not be overturned based on the confidence we have in the ruling.
Robinson said some of the affected workers adhere to the advice given for them to report to work today, and they expect others will do likewise in the coming days. He also noted that a news conference will be held tomorrow at a protest in capital Kingston on Monday.
One individual indicated to us that the principal said he or she has not received any instruction as to what should happen. So the teacher is at the school seated. The others have gone to the Ministry of Education and they are in conversation with the permanent secretary, who has not put anything in writing. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., we would have our press conference in Kingston. So that would be a joint press conference. Our legal team would be there. Myself as president and Brother Boucher. So we would have a press conference. We would also be on the Viewpoint program at the TV station on Sunday, this Sunday from 7 to 8:30, God's willing. And if the government decides to appeal, unfortunately, this should not happen. But if they get a hold on preventing this mandate given by the judge to be implemented, then we will have a massive picket in Kingston on Monday. We are mobilizing all forces to be at Kingston in front of the financial complex to have a peaceful picket. Taxi men, the minibus association, the parents, teachers who are in the schools, we want everybody to converge in Kingston Monday morning so that we will have a peaceful picket to show to the authorities that they need to obey the order of the court and stop this appeal that they have been contemplating on, because
the Teachers Union president noted that the government's push to appeal the High Court ruling will result in more economic leakage for the country.
Appealing by the Crown is going to cost millions of dollars. They need to tell us how much money they have already spent on this case, because you want money to stay in the country to stimulate the economy, to reduce poverty, reduce unemployment, and among the other social ills that we have. And it makes no sense you're going to spend millions of taxpayers' money, the same persons who have paid tax. You want to take their own money to further punish them. We have had a very long, drawn-out process with this case, and we think it's time to resolve it. The court has already ruled, and so we are asking the government to do the honorable thing, to obey the court order and let us have people's lives going back to normal. A lot of people have suffered. They can't pay their bills, they can't pay their mortgage, they can't, and we need more quality teachers in the classroom. This education system would have suffered. What we need to look at is, why do we want to punish or torture the workers of this country, who the same government claimed that they were heroes? They work during the volcanic eruption in the shelters. They work as slaves because they have not even been given a stipend. The $500 that the government promised, that never happened. And yet you want to use the taxpayers' money of this country and further punish the people. You want to treat them as criminals. So I can't see how they are going to get away from this. What are they going to appeal? If you have not followed the Constitution of the country, if there are procedural errors, the judges has never said that the Parliament cannot make laws, but there are procedures, and you have to stay within the confines of the Constitution. And that is exactly what she did.
On radio yesterday, Anthony Astafan, who was one of the lawyers representing the government in the COVID-19 vaccine mandate case against the unions, said the High Court ruling on the matter was wrong, noting that given that it was a crisis that killed and hospitalized people and disrupted social life, the government was constitutionally required to take measures in the public interest and in the interest of public health.
Take measures to curb the spread of the infection and or to prevent serious illnesses and deaths being caused by, in particular, the Delta COVID virus strain that was in St. Vincent. Having taken what the government, based largely on medical advice given by the chief medical officers and supported by PAHO and others, to find out that every single thing the government did in seeking to protect the lives of the very public officers and others who sued the government, to find that everything that they did based on medical advice was wrong, is a conclusion that cannot be left unchallenged. There has to be some clarity from a higher court as to whether what the government did was constitutionally proper or not.
And let's say you go to the appeal court as you're planning on doing, which you will do, and you're to lose at the appeal court. Then what?
Well, we'll have to see what the Court of Appeal says. The government has the same right of appeal on final decisions as every citizen like yourself would have. If you feel aggrieved by a decision, regardless of the consequences, you have to make a decision, whether you accept it, negotiate it, or you fight it again until the Privy Council. But we're not at that stage yet. We just want to get to the Court of Appeal and let the Court of Appeal make a decision, and based on that decision, the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, Prime Minister, and the Cabinet will have to cross whatever bridge is delivered by the Court of Appeal.
Astafan said they have been confident from day one and they are still confident as they move forward to appeal the High Court ruling handed down on Monday by Justice Esco Henry.
This is a public health issue and it must be dealt with and determined as a public health issue. And every single fundamental right that we have under the Constitution are made subject to laws reasonably required in the interest of public health. And there was nothing on the record to suggest that the recommendations for the mandate, for the vaccine mandate made by the CMO was not reasonably required in the interest of public health because there was no medical evidence to challenge her evidence. The claimant sought to bring in expert evidence and the judge denied the application. And therefore the only medical evidence on the reasonableness of the mandate came from the chief medical officer. And to find out now that the entire special measures regulations were set aside as unconstitutional is something that we take very seriously, and we are requiring the Court of Appeal to make a determination on that. From day one, didn't see the necessity of cross-examining any of the claimants' witnesses because their evidence was simple. I didn't want to take the vaccine. I didn't apply for an exemption. I didn't apply for reinstatement. No medical evidence put forward on the part of the claimants as to the reasonableness of the vaccine mandate. What were we going to cross-examine them about? This is not an emotional or political case. This is a case that is highly fact-sensitive, based significantly and substantially on medical evidence from the CMO. And seeing that her evidence wasn't challenged, we didn't see the need to challenge any other evidence in the case. So we now find out that the judge has made a decision that literally everything done by the government was unconstitutional. And that simply cannot be allowed to stand unless we get an opinion from the Court of Appeal.
On one of the issues which the judge ruled as being unconstitutional by not giving the claimants a choice in the matter of whether to take the COVID-19 jab or not, Astafan said, on the contrary, they were given 4 choices.
You have the choice to take it. You have the choice to apply for medical exemption. You have a choice to apply for religious exemption, or you have a choice not to do any of the above, but to bear the consequences of your own decision. They made a calculated decision not to take the vaccine without advancing any medical evidence to justify their refusal. It turns out the judge said that they were right. We maintain that they were wrong, absolutely wrong, and that the law is constitutional. And for us to perhaps limit the debate from the emotion and from the politics, it's important that we get it to the Court of Appeal. For the Court of Appeal to make a decision on it. They may or may not agree with us. As you know, I've known you long enough. You've never heard me say, I am 100% sure that we're going to win the case. But we are highly confident. And we think the public interest, you have people from the OECS calling and WhatsApping me. What's the implications of this case? How do we deal with that in our jurisdiction now? Are there any similarities? What about others who may have lost their jobs based on the fact that they didn't take the COVID vaccines in other jurisdictions? There are compelling reasons why this matter needs to be resolved at the higher level, because it affects the ability of every government, including the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as to how they confront the next infectious disease crisis that it faces, which will kill its citizens, which will hospitalize its citizens, disrupt its businesses, as some of the countries suffered significantly from the shutdowns of the COVID crisis. There needs to be clarity in the law, or a higher level of understanding of what the law is, to guide the governments in the future. I think it would be reckless to leave it, unless the case was hopeless, and it's not. It would be reckless in the extreme to leave the judgment there without testing it in the Court of Appeal, especially as the team unanimously, there's no dissent, unanimously agrees that there's merit in appeal. None of us, whether for fees, as some of your listeners suggest, or politics or emotion, would have advised the government, led by a prime minister who's also a lawyer with an attorney general, to appeal a decision if we felt honestly it had no merit in it whatsoever.
Also on the radio yesterday, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves responded to a statement made by leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, that if his party is elected into office, they will discontinue any subsistent appeal in the COVID-19 vaccine mandate lawsuit. PM Gonsalves deemed the opposition leader's statement as opportunistic.
Well, I expect all the appeal processes will be finished before the next general election.
Yeah, my next question was how long that would take.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the point is this. He makes the point that we are acting precipitately because the judgment, the reasons have not yet come out. But the lawyers were involved in the case. They know the case inside out. And the matter is of such importance. You don't have to wait until you read all the reasons. You put in the notice of appeal, and then the grounds of appeal will follow. There's nothing unusual about that. But if that is the case, what about he? Saying before he has read the reasons, he would withdraw the appeal? You know, when a man argues in the way he argues there, his opportunism is stark. And he's pandering. Leadership requires that you take decisions which are in the public interest, that we claim collective ownership of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to protect lives and livelihoods, protect the children in the schools and other teachers, and to protect the patients in the hospital and members of the public. So I'm clear about how we acted and the reasons why we acted.
The Prime Minister said he is satisfied with the government's legal team and other legal minds locally and regionally that the ruling by Justice Esco Henry has to be appealed.
Any dissonant noises, you know, you have a right to make your dissonant arguments. This is a free and democratic country. But we have to have our personal responsibility, and we have to have collective ownership of our nation, of the public interest, and we have to do so in solidarity. It's not a question of me.
Yeah.
I saw someone raising, oh, this appeal going to cost money. Of course the appeal going to cost money. But the matter is of great national importance. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the law settled very clearly. So that's the framework. And Johnny P, you notice I'm being very straightforward on it. I'm not throwing accusations at anybody as to any motivation, any questioning their motivation, their bona fides. Nothing of that kind. Right. What I'm questioning would be, apart from what I say about the decision itself, that we consider it to be wrong, and that we have to have that. We have to go to higher courts to test Justice Henry's judgment. And it's a matter of great public importance here and regionally.
Noting that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has faced several challenges over the past 3 years, leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, said Vincentians ought to reflect on what was lost and learn and on the challenges yet to come. Dr. Friday, who was addressing the wreath-laying ceremony at the obelisk here at Dorsetshire Hill on Heroes Day, March 14th, said highlighted the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the eruption of La Soufrière volcano.
The challenges today are very different, but still important. For though we are not called to lay down our lives in combat, we are nevertheless, in the same spirit, called to give of ourselves and do our best for our people, for our country. The last 3 years have been very challenging on many levels. Even as we prepare to celebrate this wonderful holiday, this national holiday today, this moment invites us to reflect on what we lost and on what we learned, to reflect on the challenges we faced and those that may yet come. We endured the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic felt the world over. The shutting down of the global economy, restricting of movements of people, cutting us off from friends and relatives. This was disruptive and emotionally painful. Some families endured heartbreak and tragedy as loved ones died in the pandemic, here and abroad in our diaspora. No doubt the scars of the pandemic will be with us for a long time. At the same time, the violent eruption of our volcano added to our challenges and those faced by us here, and greater concern for our people abroad who worried about our safety. Thousands of people were directly impacted and had to leave their homes and communities. Thousands more felt the impact on lives and on livelihoods. We continue to recover, to rebuild communities and livelihoods, and hopefully better than before.
Dr. Friday also told those in attendance that the workers who stood up for their rights and protests against the COVID-19 vaccine mandate should be an inspiration to all.
Yesterday, the High Court, for example, vindicated those workers who stood up for their rights against the vaccine mandate that was unpopular. The people who took this case are heroic in their continued efforts to stand up for what they believe in and were not bullied into silence. Their bravery and character are an inspiration to us all. I ask us all to think about our own lives. All of us, think about your life, of something or someone who went far and above what you expected, beyond the call of duty, so to speak. For someone you know, quietly, away from the spotlight. And join me in applauding those who did not make the headlines or the history books, but were heroes in their own rights, because they made a difference. For you see, true heroism, it's not loud, not boastful, and may come even in small acts of kindness rendered in ordinary circumstances. As Jesus teaches, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did for me.
The opposition leader noted that in the midst of the chaos, there were several acts of selflessness seen among the workers in the healthcare service, which shows each individual has the capacity to be a heroic figure.
During both catastrophes, there were numerous acts of selflessness and courage. Not the least among them the heroics of healthcare workers, police officers, teachers, and even ordinary workers who kept going day after day and helped our country to function as best they could. This shows that while we will not all be recognized as national heroes or as a national hero, each of us, nevertheless, possesses within us the capacity to be a hero for our nation. We do so also by always doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. We do so by standing up for truth and justice, even when we are not ourselves directly threatened. We do so by envisioning a fairer, more just society in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and taking the responsibility to make it happen. Today, when we speak about heroes, we think of those who are willing to stand up for what they believe, even if it is not popular. Yesterday, the High Court, for example, vindicated those workers who stood up for their rights against the vaccine mandate.
In other news now, we hear that the National Insurance Services, the NIS, on Wednesday, March 15, 2023, welcomed the Reserves Advisory and Management Partnership RAM team of the World Bank Treasury for a two-day technical advisory mission. RAM, which was established in 2001, is a program developed within the World Bank Treasury that builds human capital, delivers asset management services, and convenes a network of practitioners. The NIS in a news release said, as a social security institution that works diligently in enhancing sustainability, it understands the importance of institutional strengthening and capacity building in ensuring the delivery of dynamic and sustainable social security services. Under the Sharing and Pooling of Resources initiative among the ECCU social security system, the NIS said it has partnered with two other regional social security systems in the ECCU and engaged RAMT to conduct diagnostic assessments of the investment management functions. The NIS said since 2021, it has benefited from the advisory services and capacity building program with the RAM team, assisting the NIS in strengthening its governance and operational frameworks in the areas of investment and risk management through the training and certifications of board and staff and the development of investment and risk policies and guidelines. The NIS said the principal objectives of the two-day mission are to support the institution in designing its funding policies and conduct a peer review of the 11th actuarial report. The release said the board, management, and staff of the NIS look forward to a productive engagement with the World Bank mission team as the institution strengthens its governance and operational frameworks and enhances the financial sustainability of its fund. In more local news now, we hear that St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as a member state of the regional security system, is lending security assistance to neighboring St. Lucia, which is facing an upsurge in gun violence. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves spoke on the support being offered on radio yesterday.
The Commissioner of Police informed me yesterday that he having had consultations earlier with me, that we will send 6 police officers. They will be rotated. They'll be sent for a period of time, then we'll send another 6 to the regional security system. They naturally would be under the command of the Commissioner of Police in St. Lucia. There's a big upsurge, and in the judgment of the government of St. Lucia, they need assistance.
Okay.
And that is part of the dangerous road to Jericho, you know. Hey, Johnny P.
Right.
PM Gonsalves noted that an issue that he has been given some attention to and which he will be raising at the cabinet level is with the number of persons with mental health challenges in prison.
Some of them also have been sentenced to imprisonment for murder. Some are on charge of murder, some for the violent offenses. And the problem in, say, in 1 or 2 cases, where they were sent, the court had ordered that they be sent to the mental health center. But in at least 2 cases that I'm aware of, or that I can recall, the Attorney General had to go to court to seek a variation of the order to have the person incarcerated at Her Majesty's prisons, because the mental health rehabilitation center didn't have the security apparatuses to deal with the violent turn of such inmates. And the prisons, and this has been so for quite a while, and we have to address it today, it will have a cost. Prison warders have gotten some elemental training, but prison warders are not fully trained to deal with patients, mental health patients. You know, Johnny P.
Yes.
And there is no specific wing for mental health patients. So all those matters, we have to have a thoroughgoing discussion on those things and to see what are the best practices elsewhere now.
And the SVG police force said it has launched an investigation into an incident that reportedly occurred in Georgetown involving 2 police officers and a civilian. The police said it is aware of several video clips that have been circulating on social media showing a physical confrontation between the 2 officers and the civilian who was arrested and in handcuffs, and that an investigation has been launched into the matter to unearth the facts and circumstances that may have triggered the incident. The force noted that it does not condone any acts of violence against members of the public by any member of the constabulary in the due execution of their duties, and thanked the public for its continuous support. In other news now, we hear that head of the traffic department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, ASP Panel Brown, is urging the traveling public to report any offences committed by drivers, including omnibus operators, so that the necessary measures can be taken against the perpetrators. ASP Brown was a panelist on SVG TV's Viewpoint program last Sunday, along with the president of the JCI St. Vincent, KC De Freitas, and president of the Taxi Association, Winston Pops Morgan, discussing road safety in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. From the public.
Now the traveling public are offended every day, in some way or the other, by these motorists, and they are refusing to come to the police. Now, if you are offended, if you ride a public service transport and you are offended, is that you ask the driver or conductor to turn the music down so that you can have some peace and quietness, and they refuse and ask you to come out from the van. It is an offense.
What is the offense? Them telling you to get off the van, or
you should not be refusing to carry a fare-paying passenger to their destination.
Okay, so then just go that over for me, for people who are listening and who are watching, because I know that has happened multiple times. I've seen it happen where when you do tell people, listen, your music is too loud or you're speeding too much, they stop the van and they tell you to get out.
No, that's an offense.
So is it that the passenger's right is to remain in the van?
In the van.
And if
for some reason you believe to yourself that you will be safer because the vehicle is, the driver is being reckless, and you believe to yourself that you will be more safer getting out of that van, it is your right. But if you're traveling in the van and the driving is okay, the music is a problem, and you ask them to turn the music down and they tell you to get out, it's an offense.
So in that case,
they need to come to, they can go to any of the police station and make a report to the police, give the police a written statement, but people do not want to do that.
well, let's empower those people this evening and let them know explicitly that if you, according to ASP Brown, if you're in a traveling van and you ask for whatever reason for the music to be lowered or for the speed at which the van is traveling to be reduced for your, as you have a concern about your safety, and they stop and they ask you to get out, that is an offense. Realistically,
yes,
what would happen? If that passenger shows up at a police station and you take the report, what happens then? Is it the van man or van woman's word against mine? He say, she say, court? What would happen next?
the police will record a statement and they will interview the driver. You have to know who the driver, the registration number of the vehicle. These are important. Where exactly the offense took place is also important. And you give the police a statement, a comprehensive statement of the incident, and the matter has been taken to court. I have seen before where matters of this, a few, were taken to court, and the driver was convicted and was fined by the court.
Okay. And how many have been acquitted?
None.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging.
And President of JCI St. Vincent, Casey De Freitas, said there is a van culture in SVG in which omnibus operators are behaving in a reckless manner for social media likes.
I'd like to say that I do agree with you, it is a culture, and you can establish this culture by looking at the patterns. And when you're directly affected by this culture, it becomes evident to you what is really happening. So, in my opinion, you can see what the vans are doing. You can ask any Vincentian and they will tell you what they're doing. And as Pop sort of insinuated, and it's very true, they're doing a lot of things so that they could be hyped up on social media and they could get likes. You as well, you work at the college, you know how college students are. But you know how it is, young people, they want the best graphics on their vans, they want to catch the hottest vans, they want the fastest van, and they enjoy it. It's an enjoyment to them, and this is all a part of the culture. You see it at all levels, secondary, starting, and it goes all the way up. Young people in general, they navigate towards this thing, they gravitate, towards this kind of thing. And it's very unhealthy, it's very toxic in my opinion, the culture, because yes, you want to have an enjoyable experience, but you're going 70 miles on the road, pedestrians are crossing, you don't know what could happen. You're driving a van, you come to the van, and it's like you hear ringing in your ears. This falls all a part of the culture that the vans are practicing. So there is a culture in my opinion, and from my perspective, as well as the perspective of a lot of persons, because I know I'm not speaking only for myself, it's something that could be improved upon. And we do look for the traffic department as well as VINTUS to do their role in ensuring safe and comfortable transportation.
A fire engulfed an unoccupied house here at Dorsetshire Hill today, but was put out by members of the fire department of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force. The owners of the property are saddened by what transpired today. Caesar Jealoso, who is now dealing with his second house fire, explained that he and his family have been displaced for years and have been living in rental, which has been a challenge for them.
Right now, we're in a place, and the man sell the house with us in it. Wow. And he put 2 sold sign on the gate, and he gave us a month notice. And we can't find a place, and we don't have a place. The place that we have is this place here, and we can't live in it. We got 3 months help from Nemo, tax, but it's years now since we still in rent. They started us off in rent. They helped start us off in rent. What year was that again? It's over 7 years now.
2013, when the weather passed.
Right now, the house that I in sold with us in it. And the landlord gave us 1 month notice, and we looking for a place, and we can't get a place suitable that we could pay. The rent is too high.
I don't believe like the fire, like the house on fire.
And this just put more stress. Because even self we say we gonna come back is very difficult. We can't come back neither because where we gonna use toilet? We don't have water and the current is off. So
and you have to have the
best. We need help. This alone could tell you that we need help. I don't think I have anything to say. Okay? This alone should tell you. So yeah, we need help. No. The software blow.
And she can't talk.
And they told us they couldn't assist us because the software blow and they're busy dealing with. But my software blow 7 years ago. The software that real blow was my software where I had nowhere to go.